Welcome, everybody, to Summit Live. Today, we have a very special guest. Every week, I seem to say that, but all of my guests are very, very special, of course. Today, we have Justin Damien Furness. He is known as Fortune 500 companies, high performance coach. He has coached executives from the likes of Google and Nestle, and he is also the founder of LifePrintOS. Today, we'll be talking about how is it that you as an entrepreneur can read minds? And is it for real? We are about to find out. If you happen to be joining us live right now, do type in hashtag live. And if you happen to be watching in replay, type in hashtag replay because we would really love to see who's joining us here today on this stream. So without further ado, let's bring on up Mr. Justin Damien Furness.
Ching Yu, good to be here. Thank you for an amazing intro. It seems you guys have caught me in the studio today, so excuse the green screen at the back, but it's good to be here.
Yep, good to have you here. And then you see we've got John Chong, our founder, live from Setia Alam, Malaysia, of course. And then we have Sam as well. He is live all the way from Vietnam together with his wife. Yep. So welcome, everybody. So share with us, for those of us who don't really know who is this Justin guy, and why does he say that he can read people's minds? Share with us a bit of your background.
Well, Ching Yu Tan, I kind of grew up in South Africa during a time that was very much about separation. And I went through a bit of a hard and challenging time during those years as I kind of grew and matured as an individual. And it led me into a lot of conflicts. It led me into a lot of separation from just the ideology and the culture and the whole way of everything. And what happened was I ended up leaving and moving to the UK. And it was during that time that I completely lost my way. I was like this lost soul traveling the earth. And I was managing a bar in an area called Vauxhall, called the Beehive. And what happened was one night, basically, one of the patrons didn't really like the way I looked. And tried to rearrange my face with a beer glass. And fortunately, I managed to, in defense, I managed to get my arm up, and that's why I've got this huge scar on my arm. And what happened was I literally, whilst bleeding out, I had a near-death experience and kind of nearly died and woke up in hospital because it went through one of my major radial arteries. And so literally that started the process. I was told that I was never really allowed to use get full function of my right hand back again. But during that time, it led me on a rehabilitation and almost like a quest to rehabilitate myself. And that started really my journey into integrative medicine, which I've studied for 20 years, and slowly led me more and more into developing my own system, studying unified physics with Nassim Haramein and one of the lead researchers at the Resonance Foundation. And that really was the start of the LifePrint operating system. Was really the birth of me in a place of increased separation, and how could I basically bring everybody together through really an empathic technology. Empathy is not really an emotion, it's really a fundamental human experience. And so LifePrint really gives us an empathic technology, whereas we can read minds for real. Based on a scientific system of resonance that doesn't require any questions that can be manipulated or abused. And so because we know that humans like to put their best foot forward, we're not always honest with ourselves. And we try to cover up the bad aspects of ourselves. Let's call it bad, right? And so LifePrint really kind of takes away all of those charged kind of language patterns, and we don't really look at things as good or bad. We really look at the human system and what's natural for it in its either a stressed state or in a growth state, and then we can meet people where they're at. be able to develop trust and rapport and resonance. And that's really where LifePrint's magic really lies, is being able to meet somebody where they're at, not where they're expected to be, which is unfortunately most of the case.
Oh, great, great. Wow, very powerful technology that you have there. And how long did it take you to develop this software?
So we started developing since 2007. So kind of we launched the software version because back in the old days, I was teaching everybody how to do it like manually, which was a real pain. But we launched the software around about 2016, 2017. So the initial groundwork and all the research and the case studies and the testing and all of that took about 10 years, pretty much before we really launched. And now, now we onto version 3, soon to launch version 4. And yeah, we just experiencing just an amazing community and set of results that are basically attributed to the LifePrint system.
Wow, wonderful. And so what is it that entrepreneurs specifically can benefit out of the LifePrint OS system?
The main thing is whether it's for self-leadership, to lead yourself, because all leadership starts with self. I truly believe that we're all leaders, whether you're a mother, a father, whether you're in a relationship, whether you have a team, whether you have a business. At the end of the day, we're all leaders. And so what LifePrint really does is gives you the ability to be able to clarify your communication and clarify your communication in a way that matters to the person who you're engaging with. What matters to them? What means the most to them? Because that way you're going to basically be able to connect to their heart and their mind. That's going to allow you to then build that resonance, build that rapport, build that relationship, and really found it on trust, because what we find is it's the meaning that eliminates motivation. So whether it's motivation for yourself to get something done so that you can basically progress and become a success, right? Or whether it is you're communicating with a new client that's a prospect that you want, that's naturally suspicious. So turning that suspect into a prospect, that prospect into a client, that client to a raving fan could be the opportunity that makes all the difference within your company, to your family, and to yourself, to really secure that that security. Secondly, that connection then gives you the ability to convert someone's procrastination into progression, take somebody's stress and turn it into success. Because now what you've done is you've eliminated the need for that motivation, because now you've been able to communicate in a way that is clear, that matters most to the person that you're communicating to, even if it is for yourself, and then convert whatever it is that you need to into a higher growth mindset. Because most of us are just stressed out, and it's very natural. But what we found is we've demonized our stress mindset, our protective mindset. We've got two mindsets. And people think that it's a bad thing. There's something wrong with them. They're broken. They can't do this. They're not measuring up. They're not where they want to be. The chasm between where I am to where I want to be is so far that my brain switches and stresses itself, and then keeps myself staying where it is out of safety. Not because I don't want it, but because there's a protection mechanism that's built into our human operating system. And so what we do is we find a way that we're able to navigate that and get into a flow state that is more fulfilling rather than staying in suffering. And so, yeah, that's really the epitome of what the LifePrint system is.
Wow. So beyond understanding other people, it's also really a journey upon understanding oneself. right? I think, as you mentioned, to be able to differentiate that survival mode of us, and then the one to unlock that part of us that is able to achieve our highest potential.
Oh, you've got it 100% on the head there, Ching Yu. 100%. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, what would you say? Is the single thing that any entrepreneur can do when it comes to understanding the people around them better, right? So that they can have that connection that you mentioned to convert them towards, a sale, towards following their path, their vision, or towards their goal.
So, it's always different for everybody. And so the first thing that I would basically give as a little nugget is ask questions, right? That's going to allow you to ascertain what it is that that person's looking for, and then opens a conversation. And so, what is it that we want to clarify? Because that's the question, really, is what is it? There's literally what we call the M3, right? And it's not a series of a BMW. It's not a car, but it's actually works similar because it gets you to where you're going. So, what we look at here is the ability to be able to clarify our communication in a way that we elicit what it is that it means most to the other person, right? So, what do we want to clarify? Well, M3 is literally what is the mission that they're on, right? What mission are they on? And I can hear a whole lot of people going, oh my God, like there's so many missions that people can be on. Well, not really. There's only really three when we boil it down, and that's our health, our wealth, or our relationships. And so, what is it that's most important to that person, right? Where are they at within their life? Because a teenager's needs and what they want to experience in the world is very different to somebody in their 60s, for example, right? And so, really finding out what mission they're on. And then, literally, number two is what does it mean to them, right? And so we've really got 9 moves of meaning that we have. There's only nine moves that you have to know in order to eliminate motivation, right? To make motivation unnecessary, to move motivation out the way. There's only 9 moves. And so when you find out what it means to them and you link that to the mission, the next step then is to connect. Because it might mean something to them, right? And it might matter to them, but the way that you communicate may not be connective for them. You go like, oh, what do you mean? Well, there's 5 keys to connection, which we're going to be literally giving everybody at the event this coming weekend. And those 5 keys, we're already very familiar with 2 of them. One is an intellectual connection. Some people are stimulated intellectually. They like to talk about their ideas. They get excited and enthusiastic, and they get all riled up. The other one that's become quite popular, which is also a bit of a challenge at the moment, simply because it's become the new latest trend, is this emotional intelligence. Everybody's got to have emotional intelligence. Oh, are we doing this? But what happens is that you actually separate people again. And some people that aren't naturally talented with emotional intelligence feel less than. They feel like they're missing something, like they're not part, like there's something inadequate about them. And that's the biggest challenge. Within LifePrint, we've actually got another 3 more, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of a nugget again. We've got a motivational performance pattern. We like to connect in terms of with people that kind of get us to move and to do things and get us negotiate, right? So that's what we call the motivational connection. But then we've also got a practical connection. Those that don't really like to talk, they like to do. And so we go through that intellectual process, the emotional connection, we go to the motivational connection, the practical connection. And then the 5th one is what we call a transformative connection, right? They typically transformers. They let go very easily. They don't hold on to things. They literally very, very agile in terms of the way that they think. And so we've literally got 5 ways in which we can connect. And each of those 5 connections have a real attachment to step number one, which is the meaning. And so if you know your performance patterns on how someone's going to literally navigate different areas of their life, for instance, what do they want in their relationship, right? Maybe different at home to what they want in their relationship within the office at work. What they feel, how they feel fulfilled and valued at home may be very different to how they operate in business. I always laugh because a lot of people meet people in a very social situation or within a very professional situation. And then you get to see somebody in their own environment and you're like, who is this guy? And it makes me laugh because when I met my wife, I obviously met her in a social environment and then professional environments. And she always knew me as being very communicative, quite high energy, very extroverted. And then she got me back at home and she was like, where's the big guy? Because at home, I go super quiet. I become very connective. I prefer stillness, right? And so it's a polar opposite expression at home to what I have within my professional environment. And so for a lot of people, these kind of different performance patterns, because that's the way that I look at it, is in what area are we performing and where do we want to make the adjustment where we may be kind of sitting back and holding ourselves back because we're stressed out and we kind of can't open up to an intuitive growth mindset where we can possibly solve solutions a lot more quickly, get to where we're going to in a lot more flow with a lot less stress, right?
Wow, wonderful. So is it entirely possible for us to be able to have that level of deep connection, right, through your process, and where it's able to break down cultural barriers regardless of where we come from?
Oh man, what a beautiful question. And that's the thing. That's what LifePrint really does. It is a boundary breaker, simply because it's based on being human, right? And regardless of culture, regardless of where you grew up, regardless of your financial situation, regardless of where you live in the world, regardless of any of that, fundamentally, we all human. And what makes it beautiful about that is we all have the same things in terms of what we ascribe to for meaning, what we need to feel fulfilled and valued. It's all fundamentally the same. Doesn't matter where you live or what social class you're at or what color your skin is or what your sexual orientation is. At the end of the day, underneath it all, biologically, scientifically, you can't argue with chromosomes and literally genetic coding. We're human. And that's where it kind of boils down to, is going back to that simplicity, going back to meeting people where they're at, not having expectations of anything other than 90% of people are doing the best that they can with what they have. And if we just keep that in mind and really kind of anchor in, now, this is the thing, there's no perfect relationship, right? There's easier ones and then there's challenging ones. But what the LifePrint's operating system really gives you the rules of those engagements, allows you to see where the challenges and the pitfalls may be that would be the resistance in a relationship, that would be the stress in someone's system, where we can then start shifting that and moving it into more of a sustainable state, right? And that's the thing. We typically give people what we want to receive, and not give people what they need, really. And so this is what's beautiful, is because it allows you to adjust your communication style. It allows you to adjust your tone, your oscillation, because you know what it is and you know who you're engaging with. For instance, some people don't like loud and gregarious and extroverted people. It's distasteful for them because they're more the negotiators that prefer harmony. And then that harmony gets oscillated and bounced around all the time, and that makes him feel uncomfortable. So imagine a leadership strategy with a child or a team member that's on your team that's not going to respond well to that. It's going to put them in a stress state. It's going to create resistance in the system, and that's not going to be sustainable long term. That's going to cause stress. That's going to interfere with performance. That's going to really play a part. And so some people don't need hammers. They need blankets. Some people need hammers wrapped in blankets. Other people won't respect you unless you give them the hammer. So there's always a different way, and this gives us the insights and the intuitive sense in which how to approach things once we have that data. And that's where the trust starts building up. And then we've got all sorts of different mechanisms in terms of our leadership strategies in how to basically make the shift in their state to get them to progress.
Oh, and I think one of the questions that comes up, you talk about meeting where they're at, understanding their communication patterns. Then how do you resolve it with the idea of, well, I need to be my authentic self. I need to be me. Why do I have to adapt to how they communicate? What would you say to that?
Well, no one's stopping you from being you, right? It's just the way in which you communicate you, right? And so what we're looking at here is not necessarily changing you. The biggest challenge is, and what we find is throughout the developmental process as being human, everybody goes through it, is we always have this outside me measurement, right? So it's outside of me that we measure. It starts with our parents, and that outside me measurement starts with, this is what you have to do in order for you to get affection, to get acknowledged, to get appreciated, to feel love as if you belong, right? And so it's love and belonging. So you learn what you have to do. And so you base these foundational things, but then you go into a schooling system that then tells you this is what you have to do to get appreciated, to get acknowledged, to get all of those things again. It's always outside of me. Right. And so for the most part, people are looking for a fuel source that's outside of themselves, whether it's the career, whether it's the partner, whether it's whatever, the good looking body and the way I must look. All of those are outside me measurements. And what LifePrint really does is it says, hey, like we need to move away from that. We need an inside me measurement model, one that's not based on me trying to find fuel outside of me, but that is an environmental reactor reacting to the environment, but rather an energetic generator. I'm the one that's generating the fuel. And so we basically make that switch. Whereas that now fulfillment factor is an intrinsic one, right? It's an internal one. It then becomes a generative one as opposed to a reactive one. And so that's the biggest thing is you never change who you are fundamentally, but you can change how you express who you are. Right? Because at the end of the day, if somebody's not receptive to you, they're not going to come closer to you. They're going to look for the quickest exit. I know people who change the side of the street that they walk on just to avoid a conversation with someone, right? How many times have you done that? And so exactly. So it's literally bringing in that connective communication that allows to convert someone's suspicions into coming closer, someone's overcoming those objections. And that's where trust is really formed, is making sure that.
Oh, it seems that your audio is breaking up with us, Justin. Perhaps you could check that. Yeah, so yeah, Justin's dropping a lot of knowledge bombs. So feel free to drop your insights or that you've gotten so far in this session, and drop your questions to share with Justin for him to answer with us live. Justin, yeah, can we? Ooh, I'm not hearing you, Justin. Let me just check if it's on my end. Guys, if you're on the live stream right now, do share with us if you're able to hear Justin, or is it just me on my end? Because I'm not able to hear Justin at the moment. All right, just drop in the chat if you're able to hear Justin. Justin, perhaps you could go testing 1, 2, 3. Oh no, I can't hear you. Nope. Yeah, we can't hear you, Justin. Yep. Don't worry. Perhaps you could just reconnect back into the stream, and then I'll hold the fort. All right. Yeah, we can't hear you still. Okay. So guys, if you've been enjoying what Justin has been sharing with us, do learn more. You can learn more about Justin at summitasia.com/VIP. I repeat, it's summitasia.com/VIP. We currently have a 1-year program where we'll be featuring the likes of Justin and a host of other amazing speakers from all around the world, where you'll be able to spend 1 year and attend all of these live workshops live with people from all around the world. We are building a transformational community to journey towards the top. So do check it out. The link is at summitasia.com/VIP. Okay, and we have Justin right back here with us. Let's see if we can hear you right now.
Testing.
Yes.
Got it?
Got you, and I can hear myself as well this time. Okay. All good. Awesome. Yeah, could you try testing again?
Testing 1, 2.
Okay, wonderful. Yes. So we see Martinus Adler sharing, communicating me to the outside world will need to bridge with the outside requirement of me. So the communication can bring the discussion closer. Yes. It's all
Correct. And the
about
way that you do that is by really establishing that meaning, right? Is having that relationship to what matters most. And that's going to really come depending on the connectivity, right? And here's a good way to think about it. So I'm going to pull out my dots. So imagine this, right? Someone is an intellectual performer, right? Their performance is more intellectual, right? And you've got someone that's more of an emotional performer, someone that's more emotional performance orientated. And this emotional performance guy goes, "Hey, Mr. Intellectual, how are you feeling today?" This intellectual person is going to move away very quickly because they don't really want to talk. They don't connect on an emotional way. But if this emotional performance pattern, or somebody that's literally expresses and connects from an emotional perspective, knows that this is an intellectual performance pattern and knows that this person connects intellectually, they're not going to go to feelings. They're going to go to, what are you working on today? What ideas do you have? Now, what happens instead of this not connecting, now it becomes connective. Now we have a relationship because now I can relate to you. Now I have relativity. Now I have resonance, right? And so that communication becomes clearer. That clarity then forms connectivity. And then now we can dance, right? Now we can kind of move any way we want to. But when we like this, there's only a few ways we can push. Even if I pull back, this hand doesn't come. But when we're connected, now we've got synergy. Now we've got a relationship. Now we can play, right? Now we can progress.
Oh, wow.
Awesome, Martinez. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's all about building that connection, right? And one of the things that you highlighted just now was really about being generative rather than reactive, right? Essentially taking ownership of our own modes of expression and expressing oneself rather than reacting to what's happening on the outside world or how people are treating us, right? And another thing that you mentioned was rules of engagement. Understanding how is it that you engage with people? What are the rules that's running their lives, right? So the question is, your is there a certain level or boundary where you would say, okay, I will engage with this person, I will keep pursuing and trying to connect with this person uh, until the very end, or you know you draw a line. Where do you draw that line, if any?
Oh man, what a beautiful question. And a tough question too, because this is a lot of challenges that some people have. And this is why there are those 5 different keys to connection, right? Is literally, what are those 5 keys? Because sometimes you have to let go. Sometimes you've got to know that this isn't going to go anywhere. Some people hold on too long because they just can't imagine letting go or feeling like they've failed at something, right? Interesting in terms of how people relate to failure too. But that's a whole nother story. But keeping it on point is literally those 5 keys. And what happens is we always kind of go back to the same thing: oil and water. It doesn't matter how hard you stir, they're always going to separate. And so not everybody's going to be connective. If you're going to it's just not going to happen. You're going to have challenging relationships that are just chemically, hormonally, mentally, emotionally, physically not supposed to connect. It's just part of human relationships. However, some environments you don't have a choice, right? Sometimes you have parents that are just very hard to connect with. Sometimes you're stuck in a career where you've moved into a new position and now you've got a new head, and that relationship is strained. But whatever it is, you will always have strategies to make it better, to get it to improve, to increase the connectivity. Um, However, if you're in a position where you get to choose, that's easier, right? Because I get to choose. I have a choice to walk away. I have a choice to move on. I have a choice to disassociate myself from the negativity, from the toxicity in my life. No matter how much or what I do, I'm still left with the decision. And that decision informs the destiny that you are traversing, right? Decisions will always kind of inform where you're moving to.
Yes. So yeah, I think it's like I think what Tony always says, is that moment of decision that can totally change the trajectory of your destiny, of where you reach your life, right? So
100%. And here's the question then, if we want to move, just kind of go a little lean into meaning there, right? Are you deciding from a state of stress, right? Or are you deciding from a state of success? Because your decisions will be totally different either side, and both sides natural to be in. But I typically prefer to be making decisions from a state of receptivity, from a state of openness, from a state of tapping into my intuition, rather than making instinctual, stressful situations, right? Because we've got an intuition and we've got an instinct, and they work together, right? Sometimes you need to instinctively respond to something to save your life, right? You need to instinctively jump back from the ledge, right? And so we've got both states, but typically when people are stressed out, they're making instinctive and impulsive decisions that are impacting their design of their destiny, whether they know it or not. And that's also becomes a little resistant, a little restrictive. It impedes the flow in terms of our fulfillment.
wow. And how is it that people can tap into that state of success? How do they bring themselves from a state of stress to success so that they can make decisions? in that state?
It depends on once again, it depends on their performance pattern, because everybody's going to relate to it, right? Some people, so if we go once again to those 9 moves of meaning, I don't want to give them all away, but some people may need harmony to stay in a intuitive open space. The minute there's any conflict, it sets them out of balance. And then they start to kind of becoming a little frenetic, right? Or they shut down because they don't want to kind of lean into that. Some people may need security in order for them to feel open and receptive. And the minute you mess with their insecurity, whether it's financial or emotional, they get a little wobbly, right? It's normal. Everybody gets stressed, but we all kind of anchor to different meanings, right? For me, as an example, right? And this is what's interesting, is because we all have different meanings in different areas. So if you know if you know the sequence to someone's, the way, like, imagine you can ethically and morally read anybody's mind to know how they think, how they feel, how they're going to act. How easy would it be? How would that change the game in order for you to help them feel comfortable, to help them feel included, right? So for me, for instance, in order for me to go into an intuitive state, I need to know that I have a space to belong, right? I need to know that I can be me and be accepted. The minute I feel like I have to live up to someone's idea of who I have to be, oh, the house of cards falls down. I'm out of there. I'm looking for an exit, right? And so for me, I'm very susceptible to spaces. Okay, so the space needs to feel right for me in order for me to actually feel as if I can give value to the best of my capabilities. If I don't, I'm out of there. Like, I just don't feel safe. And so it's all about creating a space of psychological safety, right? For each individual, not based on oh, this is what everybody needs. Right? This is the standard, but there's not one standard, right? Like, life's not a pair of elastic pants. It's not a one size fits all. And so understanding where people are at, what they relate to, and what drives them is really what's going to move the needle.
Wow. Yeah. So it's a very tailor-made process where you identify the specific individual, and then how is it that you can tap and connect with them. Now, on
100%.
on a larger scale, right, when you're dealing with groups of people where maybe you're unable to connect with them one on one because it's just not practical, how does your system come into play in that context?
Oh man, you're full of great questions today, because you're really going into layers and layers and layers of detail and depth, and I absolutely love that. The more details we have, funnily enough, the more certainty we start to develop. So teams, families is another way you can look at it. You can look at it for teams, anywhere where there's multiple people coming together. You're still going to have resonance. You're still going to have chemistry. You're still going to have relationships. The only difference is now we're looking at a collective, looking at a group, and how the group is now going to interconnect, right? Which are the ones in the group that aren't going to see eye to eye? How can you then step in and have a strategy straight away to literally stop a fire from starting? Right? It's not about putting fires out. It's about not even getting them to start in the first place, because you understand where those power struggles are. You understand where there may be potential intimidation. You understand where there may be a tendency to be more creative rather than more proactive. You see, that's the whole thing. And when we put together teams, what typically people do, especially if you're looking at companies, they look at skill sets, right? And they look at people in terms of, this is the skills that we require. They often, what's overlooked is the mindset. How is this person going to be adaptive and inclusive in the team? Not the skill set. because you can put somebody into the team that's actually going to crumble the team, because now it's an instigator. It doesn't matter how good they look on paper, but we also want to see how they're going to become adaptive and inclusive in the team, right? And so some people, they build teams on skill sets, and then they realize they're building a team to a sales team. And now what's happening is the performance is performing like a design creative team, and they're wondering why sales aren't coming in. It's because these guys are talking strategy all the time and not being progressive and practical, because now they're coming up with all the ways that they can, because they're actually, the dynamic of the team is a creative team. And so how do you actually pair people in terms of mindset and skill set where there's no way to abuse the equation, because there's no questions and answers? So we can't put our best foot forward and not be honest with ourselves, because it's literally there, plain as day. And the system's based on science, which means it meets over a 90% accuracy rate.
Wow. Wow. And
So
I think one of the things that you highlighted, yeah, about preventing the fires even before they start, the system that you have is so powerful, where not only are you able to read and understand individuals, but you're able to anticipate the problems that may happen if you were to combine this individual and this individual, and then the chemistry just doesn't gels, and it could just spontaneously combust. Very, very powerful.
and that's devastating if you've got like $100 million product, right? I mean, these are real cases that we're talking about. Like, you've got $100 million product on the line, and now your team is self-destructive. It's not productive. And all it does is it takes a leadership strategy change or a partnership change. It's not about getting rid of people. It's about literally shifting the seats. And that's all that happens. And you can get huge productivity. So
Wow.
yeah, it's all about changing that pressure into progress.
Oh, pressure
Um,
into progress. Wonderful.
breaking, yeah, it's literally breaking free of the burnout. We've got a huge problem with burnout in companies at the moment. And the only reason burnout exists is because they're not aligned, attuned, and literally to the meaning and the mission for them. They understand the company, but they haven't aligned themselves. They haven't attuned themselves to that mission because they haven't figured out what it means to them. They're just trying to fulfill on these external pushes, and they, once again, environmental reactors, because they're not generating it, because there's no alignment, there's no anchor, there's no attunement to that, right? And that's the biggest thing that a lot of companies have to figure out is, how do we get a culture, right, that's connective, cohesive, collaborative, um, in a way that doesn't necessarily come top down, but literally comes from the ground up, because we're meeting people where they're at.
Well, meeting people where they're at. So you mentioned about all of the different processes and the steps throughout this session. And you mentioned that you'll be running an event this coming weekend, the 23rd and 24th of April, this Saturday and Sunday. What can people expect from the 2 days with Justin Furness?
Well, here's the thing. Um, they're going to literally get everything. This is not a little, and like when you come to the Summit Speaker Bureau, it's not small, right? We're going to give you everything. It's not going to be a little webinar. You're actually going to learn some real valuable information on how to clarify your communication, how to connect to others as well as yourself. We're going to shower you with gifts and bonuses. You're going to get so much value. You're going to walk away with your own personal performance profile, which is a 23 plus page of deep analytics. You're then going to be guided through how to actually make those shifts, make those changes, and how to basically look at different aspects within yourself. and really go through all of those 9 moves of meaning. Have a look at all of those 5 keys of connection so you can really start to understand not only your mindset, but actually have a skill set to shift your mindset, and then produce a skill set that will be able to then clarify your own communication in a way that's going to connect to the hearts and minds of others, where you'll be able to convert their position into progress, right? No matter what it is for, whether it's a partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's your child, or whether it's one of your team members, maybe it's even your boss. Like, at the end of the day, no matter what happens in this world, no matter how much things get automated, no matter how much artificial intelligence gets created, people are always going to have to deal with people. We're never going to get away from each other. We're always going to be locked in relationships with each other. And so when you really understand how people perform, you can start to connect at a level and build trust that ostensibly lasts a lifetime. And for me, that's the most valuable thing in the world. Because relationships and trustworthy relationships are at the core value of everything, because those are the relationships that create the memorable moments in your life that you remember forever. I don't want to get to the end of my life and have one little ounce left, that I can squeeze out of moments that I've created with others, whether that's a moment with myself or in a moment with anyone I choose to engage with.
Yeah, very powerful. Yeah, I mean, we are put on this earth, for such a limited times, so precious, and it's very easy to take for granted the relationships and the people, all of the people that we encounter in our lives. And just imagine if we are all able to connect on that level, you know, and then to be able to work hand in hand together in harmony, and then with people whom we are not meant to gel with, okay, live and let be. How wonderful that will be.
100%. And that's the beautiful thing, without judgment, without any persecution, just knowing that, hey, that's who they are. And we just have a different value chain, right? Things mean different things to us. And that's not to say that a relationship also can't have different things and be okay, right? I like to jump out of airplanes. Jacqueline, my wife, certainly does not, right? I like the adrenaline. She doesn't. She likes certainty and safety, right? I prefer a little bit more. And so, doesn't matter. Does it mean we can't be together? Absolutely not. Does it mean we do some things alone? Absolutely yes. And so, yeah, it's just making sure that you connecting with what matters most to you in those moments.
Yep. Wow. Connecting with what matters to you, at every moment, what matters the most, right? Wow, very
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah. So, for those of you who would like to learn more from Justin, join us this weekend. You can find out more details at summitasia.com/VIP. We currently have a limited time only VIP pre-launch special offer, where it's not only Justin that we are having on board. We have a host of other international experts and speakers for an entire year to work hand in hand together with us, to drive us to our next level of success and towards the ultimate summit, whatever that may be in our lives. So check it out at www.summitasia.com/VIP. We have a very, very special offer going on right now. And PS, it's only 2 digits. All the speakers, when they found out how much we were offering this, they said, "You are mad. You are insane." But you know what? We are here to unlock value, the value within you that we see in you, the gift that we know resides in you. And we want to bring that out into the world. And, amazing speakers, and, Justin, definitely one of them, they are gracious enough to share their life's work with us, for you to unlock your value. So, join us in our community. It's www.summitasia.com/VIP. Okay, and with that, any last words you would like to share with us?
I hope to see everybody there. You don't want to miss out on this. This could potentially be the one thing that makes all the difference in your life moving forward. And I can guarantee you won't be able to put the system down. It's not a shelf sitter. So make the right decision for your destiny, move from your procrastination and move into progression, and let's do it together because we're better together.
We're better together. Okay, so everybody, let's just give a huge thank you to Justin for joining us in this session, and we hope to see you this weekend. Take this opportunity to connect with Justin live this weekend. Again, you can check it out at www.summitasia.com/VIP. We have a thriving community where we are building change makers all around the world, where we connect with one another, we collaborate, and then we take our lives to the next level. We've got Tak sharing the thank yous. So, thank you very much, Justin, for joining us during this session, and thank you for joining us live, or if you're watching this replay, thank you very much as well for checking us out. So do check out www.summitasia.com/VIP. Even if you miss the event, we'll have something else up over there. So we shall see you next time. Summit Live runs every Thursday at 6 p.m. GMT +8. So make sure you're following us as well. Goodbye for now.